Oh,
All right. Well, I am delighted to welcome Anitra Johnson. She and I actually spoke maybe a year ago when I think there was some work going on with Wilmington City Council on the issue of reparations. You probably read Anitra's articles. She's a staff reporter for the News Journal and Delaware Online. And I guess it's fair to say with a particular focus on news in the underserved communities in Wilmington. And so I have read her articles for quite a while and recently encountered her via her Facebook account page called Delaware Voices Uplifted. And I was actually reading a number of the posts, and then I saw that she's the administrator or the leader of that Facebook page. So thought it would be great to have her come and share her perspective on news in general in Delaware, in Wilmington, and particularly perhaps how Delaware Voices Uplifted came to be, its goals, and part of understanding the work that she does and the information that she shares is for those of us who see it or hear it or read it to understand how we might get involved in some of the activities in our city, contributing to some of the needs that exist. Westminster Church does a lot of outreach in Wilmington, but we know that there are countless unmet needs in the city, and we are continually looking for ways that we might be able to connect and do more. So let me see if I can't spotlight Anitra and turn it over to you.
Thank you, Sue. Thank you, everyone, for joining tonight. I so appreciate the opportunity to get with folks outside of the newsroom, albeit on Zoom. But I look forward to speaking to the community and interacting with the community at any kind of many type of points and ways. Again, unfortunately, I do not have a presentation. However, I did drop the link for the Delaware Voices Uplifted Facebook group, and it is a publicly available group. Anyone is welcome to join as long as they adhere to the mission and the purpose of the group. And that is what I will be discussing tonight to give you more ideas about why I started the group and how you can contribute and what that would do for Delaware's communities up and down the state. So thank you. And as Sue said, I'm a staff reporter at Delaware Online, the News Journal. And I joined the organization almost 3 years ago. And I am from Delaware. I grew up here in Wilmington. And one of the reasons why I wanted to be a reporter at Delaware Online was to give communities like the one that I came from access to a platform, an institution that could broadcast and amplify messages and perspectives that sometimes get left out. And there are many facets and voices in a community, and I'm only one person. So as one person, I cannot get to all of the stories that are brought to my attention. And that does not mean that those stories are not worthy or deserving of public attention or any possibly scrutiny. It just means that I could not get to it. So I felt like there still should be an outlet that people could use to draw attention to what their issues or concerns are. And with all of the things that are going on in today's world, we're all aware of, what's happening in society today. There's so much noise and so much going on to distract people from being able to kind of take their time and sift through and carefully consider either themselves or another person or a situation. So the platform would also give people the opportunity to do just that. The postings that are encouraged at Delaware Voices Uplifted are to give a higher profile for the types of stories that don't really register in a commercial media environment. So while people claim they don't see any positive news, that there is no positive news, the media does not report positive news. It's always negative. The media is always spotlighting horrific things and situations that bring a lot of sentiments of doom and gloom. The honest truth of the matter is people aren't really interested in those stories. And the media organizations know that because they monitor and track what stories people are reading, what stories people are sharing, and what stories people are responding to. And when people react in numbers to a particular topic, the media replicates those types of stories to bring more numbers to their sites. However, when it comes to local news, part of local news, the responsibility that a local news organization has is to the community that it is a part of. So Delaware Online, the news journal, remains committed to the communities that we serve. Again, there are a number of voices within those communities. So with Delaware Voices Uplifted, we will, and I as a reporter, make sure to try to include voices of individuals and communications from organizations that really won't get a large readership. It doesn't draw very much attention in the grand scheme of things of the media landscape. And let me give you an example of what that could look like. So I came across, it was brought to my attention that someone in the Dover area she felt moved to create a living space for young women who had aged out of foster care and had no parental support and nowhere to go. And she fundraised until she came up with enough money to purchase a place for these young women to stay. And that is a story that I wanted to cover because we as a society don't necessarily pay attention to children in general, but we really don't pay attention to children who have not not come from the best of circumstances, not come from the most supportive family environment. And when they end up in foster care and they have to figure out what to do with their adult life, like we all do, but they have no parental support, then those children are even more vulnerable than most others. So I thought it was extraordinary that this young woman would fundraise her way to purchase a living facility for a few young people to go to. But that story is not going to do numbers, but I wanted it to have a platform. So I placed the story, I wrote the story for the News Journal, but I also put it on Delaware Online, Delaware Voices Uplifted, so that the community knows as well, the community of folks who are interested in this material, that it is available, that this, if they wanted to help in any sort of way, because the woman who started the program, she was looking for in-kind support donations and, any kind of donations that would help out with this program she was running. And you can sometimes do that and incorporate that ask into your stories when it comes to, a regular news story. But it's not always possible because it has to fit in with the story that is being reported. But just to make sure that people knew that there was this program and that there was this ask, and also to make a finer point on the fact that there are young people in this state who don't come from supportive families and are left to their own devices to figure out how to be adults at the age of 18, which is very difficult, especially in today's world. So it was posted to Delaware Voices Uplifted. And another example, when I say that I can't get to all of the stories, I can't get to all of the stories, but it does not mean that I've forgotten, and I will not go revisit. Now, this is one story that I have not been able to revisit, but I do keep an eye on it through the postings on Delaware Voices Uplifted. One of the first conversations I had was someone who first joined a group, was with a group who began to raise awareness about human trafficking in Delaware. So when we think about human trafficking that is taking place, I'm not sure about you all, but I just did not connect it to Delaware. It's just not part of my everyday living and lifestyle to know or be in elements where people would have that level of threat in their life. But it is happening, and it is a very serious problem in this state, but we don't hear about it, even with the news journal, and it's hard to report, given our staff limitations. But that is something that came to my attention on Delaware Voices Uplifted. So the Facebook group is for organizations. It is for people from the community who are interested in hearing about what's happening in the community and what resources are available in our state. And if they are interested or moved to do something, then they could get in touch with the people involved directly by contacting their Facebook profile. So that is, a long-winded nutshell way of saying that's what Delaware Voices Uplifted is doing and why I got it started. Another reason I would like to put out for note about why to join Delaware Voices Uplifted, or at least know about it. I've already touched on it a bit, but because of the different distractions that are in this world, and because of people's general mistrust of institutions these days, particularly the media institutions, many people just kind of, I guess it's a human function, but they lump all media together. So whether it is actual professional media or if it is, sensational entertainment type media, to them it's all news. If it comes from social media, if it comes from, something that started as a comment on Twitter, and it became viral, but because it sounded like it came from a authoritative source, it became news. It became the media said. And most people do not have time or necessarily the interest or skill to try to discern the sources of the information that they're getting. So they just accept it as the media. And the media is painted in a broad stroke. We all get the same broad brush. And people with everything that's going on, been able to tune out a lot of what traditional print journalists are doing. And because of that, print journalism is not receiving the support that it used to. And when I say print, I don't mean just the newspaper version. I mean the online version as well. But we don't receive that support, that the broad base of support that we used to. So in response, commercial organizations like the one that I work for, they have had to cut costs, and part of those cost-cutting measures means to not have as large of a staff as they once did. So with the decrease in actual reporters going out into the community to get information and bring it back, there is less information about what's happening in the communities throughout Delaware getting out. So all that to say that not just here in Delaware, but in communities across the country, there is a crisis of lack of local journalism, lack of news about what is happening in our own communities. People just don't know anymore. They don't know where to go for information. They are, grasping at whatever bits they could figure out from whomever they could figure out, whichever source that it came from. If it sounds about right, then they'll go with that. So we are all in this, situation. And I feel like I'm a community member as a resident of Delaware, and I want to be a part of the contingent that is trying to get information out for other Delawareans about what is happening in Delaware. And we just don't receive that support from the community at large to do as much work as what we would like. So with Delaware Voices Uplifted, though, I think that that is an opportunity for folks like you all to weigh in with what you would like to know about the community, but also what you would like for us to know about the community, or what you would like for the community to promote and support. And so we're watching the Facebook page to see how people are responding and to interacting with the posts to find out, what people's level of interest in what individuals or organizations are doing throughout the state. So it is, I say that, I wanted Delaware Voices Uplifted to be its own community. I wanted the folks who joined the group to form a relationship, not just with the page, and not just with me or the News Journal, but also with each other, so that we could have dialogue, we could have connection, and we could offer each other support and getting the word out about what is happening with each other, and being able to be responsive and supportive of one another. So that is pretty much Delaware Voices Uplifted. Now, so I'm not really sure if there was opportunity for any questions, but I really would appreciate any questions that anyone has.
Let me unmute myself first, because if I say something, nobody will know. And let me stop the spotlight on you, Anitra, so that we can see everybody. And I appreciate your providing that perspective. I think at some level, we've all become aware of the fact that certainly print journalism, but more specifically, local journalism is under attack. that as costs are being cut, there are fewer resources available to report on local news. And I think your idea of creating Delaware Voices Uplifted to create another avenue or opportunity for sharing local news is wonderful. And so therefore the challenge is how to get as many people and organizations as possible to know about it, and to connect with it, to offer information and then to act on information that appears on the Facebook page. Let me just ask a quick question before we move on. How many of you with any degree of regularity are on Facebook? Maybe half. But here's an opportunity. And so I'd like to turn it over to each of you to ask whatever questions you might have of Anitra, any thoughts about the mission that she's taken on and ways that you think that either you individually or perhaps Westminster Presbyterian Church might engage with Delaware Voices Uplifted and use it as a mechanism both for sharing information and for creating community. So, Roger.
Well, I've often thought that some of the things we do at our church, would have been covered by print media 30 years ago. And of course it doesn't. I've often thought, well, maybe if we made it into a press release. And then I thought, I don't see any press releases in the news journal. Nothing like that seems to appear. So if we have something good going on, like let's say we're going to do a Habitat for Humanity build on the lawn. We put out our own little newsletter. Is that something that would be good for what you're talking about, the Facebook page? Because we have our own Facebook page and it has, I think, not many visitors. I think, yes. I don't even know how many subscribers it has, not many. But is that the sort of thing that a well-worded one or with photos? I don't know. What would we do with piece of information like that? How would that work?
That's a great question. And something that you mentioned that as an example would work on Delaware Voices Uplifted. It is a community event that you are inviting the public to participate in, or at least know about and offer support. And so something like that would be welcome to be posted on the Facebook group page. But if you're asking, would I write it from a press release? If you knew that it was going into your newsletter and you already had a press release, do you send it to me to write? No, I write for Delaware Online. They pay me. Delaware Voices Uplifted is for the community. It is a vehicle that, again, I want to have the community to coalesce around one source, because again, we are so fragmented. We all have, if I don't know how many people are on this Zoom call, but if we think about all of the organizations that we're a part of, if we think about how many of there are of us and all the organizations that we're a part of, that's multiplied. What I would like for Delaware Voices Uplifted is that all of us converge on this one page, this one platform, and we share this information. We know that's where to go. There are Facebook groups that are really popular and they're for different communities. And most of them end up getting cluttered with people posting about their entrepreneurial endeavors. So if it's a Facebook group that is supposed to be, about a neighborhood, next thing you know, there's a lot of uh, posts, for someone selling leaf cleaning or fencing or something like that. And that is kind of tiring after a while. You're just scrolling forever. Um, and that's not what I am trying to create with Delaware Voices Uplifted. So I will post the stories that I've written from time to time, but this is your opportunity to, you know, post your press release or to write a little blurb. You can even copy and paste it from your newsletter. So if it's in your church newsletter, you can copy and paste it. You can include a link to your church so that people are able to find the source of, where this is coming from, and go directly to your group's Facebook page and interact with people who are involved in this activity directly. But everyone will know that Delaware Voices Uplifted is available as a central repository for all of the groups. And with that, I'm also hoping that people would get involved and get active. And so maybe you guys, may have a Habitat for Community event, and another group wants to have a Habitat for a Community event, but they only have 2 people who signed up. But if they post it to Delaware Voices Uplifted and they ask, is there anyone else who's willing to do that? And you guys know that you have, folks in your group who are interested in participating in Habitat for Humanity activities, then maybe you could communicate, and work something out where you go out to support that group with less members somewhere else. So again, I strongly encourage you to post, the information that you have and interact with one another. I am the moderator of the group, so I typically don't, I'm not a big social media fan either. I'm not on Facebook every day, but I do routinely jump on Delaware Voices Uplifted to check out what people are posting and to make sure that no one's with leaf blower or, leaf cleaning, gutter cleaning type of information on the group page.
Donald had his hand up and then Polly, but before we leave your comment, Anitra, so if there's a string of leaf blower posts, do you delete them? Do you contact the person who put them up and said, please don't do that? How do you handle those?
I do delete them, and it depends on the irrelevancy of the post. Maybe you, Sue, posted it in thinking that it would be relevant to the group. So I'm not going to ban you, but let's say that, and this has happened where someone posts something that is outrageous and has no place, in my delicate eyes, like they're banned.
Okay.
I don't. I have a very busy schedule during the week, so I really don't have time to, the rules are there. They're at the top for everyone to
Great.
review. And anyone can get in contact with me directly, like DM me to ask questions, and they have. if they join the group and they have questions, people, you know, hit me in the back channel all the time.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you. Donald, we don't see your face, and actually, I'm not familiar with you from previous programs, but we're glad that you're here and you have your hand up.
Well, first, I'd like to thank you, and I'd like to thank Ms. Johnson because I would have never known about this. And I'm glad to hear that there is another platform, uh, especially for activists and for social justice warriors. And it's just good to know. My question is, Ms. Johnson, in your capacity as a online reporter, do you depend on the community to contact you about what's going on? And does your editor decide what's important or not important? And if so, is the other platform available to post things that your editor didn't think was worthy? And the other thing, it's good to know that this alternative platform exists to engage other like-minded folks like myself to maybe organize around the issue, especially during this election time. So that's what I'm thinking about. And I would like to say that the major issue, and I'm glad to hear this because I was thinking about standing in front of Howard R. Young Institution to speak about the voter disenfranchisement among folks in there. And it's good to know that I won't have to do it by myself, but I could maybe let other people know who might be interested in uh, accompanying me out there.
Thank you, Donald. Anitra?
Okay, so Donna, thank you for your question. Now I'm going to try to remember all of them. I think there were three. And to respond, I would say that when you post to, again, Delaware Voices Uplifted doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to write the story. You can send a story idea to me. Do I count on the community to provide story ideas? I count on the community to get involved, to be involved, and to care about what's happening and care enough to reach out to news organization like Delaware Online, the News Journal. However, what someone may be concerned about, you know, from their vantage point, may not rise to the level of newsworthiness. And again, that is why there is a need for a platform like Delaware Voices Uplifted. It would not always make sense to, you know, with the limited amount of time that the staff of reporters at Delaware Online, to always invest in stories that we know is no one's going to read it. Sometimes those stories are important and you do it for service to the community anyway. However, there are some stories that we know will get our readership interested, and we put more time and effort into putting those stories out. So that would take priority. And you always, in any job, you have to prioritize, you know, your capacity. Now, as far as what role my editors play, the editors, you could say they are the gatekeeper. So they decide what gets published. Our employer is Gannett, and Gannett owns the publishing platform. They employ the editors, they employ lawyers to make sure that whatever is put on their platform passes, you know, a certain level, a certain standard. So there will be nothing that crosses, that gets published, that the editors, you know, or the lawyers will not go for. So if you post, or, you know, if someone tries to give me information, and again, it may not be a professional newsworthiness. And I'll give a quick example of what we usually get, which is rumor, unsubstantiated rumor. Because again, social media will determine that as news because someone said it very strongly, said it very pointedly, said it with authority, and that makes it news. But for professional journalists, that is not news. There has to be some sort of backing, some sort of source that it comes from, that will substantiate what is being purported. So, but again, that is what Facebook is for. So if you have unsubstantiated news, if you have an announcement, if you are looking to get support to galvanize the community about a particular issue, that is what social media is good for. And Delaware Voices, again, is available so that you can put it before not just the groups that you might be interested in, because we all have our own networks, and our networks reflect our interests. So again, I wouldn't have known that there was such a problem in Delaware with human trafficking had I not started Delaware Voices Uplifted, because my networks don't interact with, you know, people who are affected by that.
Thank you, Anitra, and thank you, Donald. Let's see, Polly, I think you had your hand up next.
Two questions. One is, do you know who your readership is for Delaware Uplifted? People of Uplifted? I mean, are they demographic kind of information?
No, it is social media. It's a Facebook page.
Okay.
So I'm not you know, really tracking anything like that. I'm just looking for more of people from Delaware.
Right.
I would, you know, I'm not necessarily looking, I don't mind people from Hawaii or, you know, Nebraska joining, but I really made the group for folks in Delaware.
Yeah. Now, the reason I ask is that I've often thought, with working with different agencies and, you know, and with the needs of disadvantaged in the community and the like, that sometimes it seems like there's no place where if somebody needs something, they could go somewhere and say, here's all the organizations that, you know, if somebody needs clothing, okay, and they're desperate for clothing, where could they go and have one place that says, I need clothing? Where are the organizations that could do that? Because right now it's spread all over and, you know, whatever. And and I don't even know if this would be the right forum for it, but it, if your readership was such that, those individuals might be accessing, because typically they also, have cell phones and and internet access or whatever, that, maybe there's something there that, could be a way of communicating that these services are out there. I mean, you can dig and people can dig and they'll get it eventually, but a lot of times they have to make many, many calls. I don't know if I'm just kind of thinking in my brain, some of the things where that something like your vehicle might be of real value to bring that out so that people know. And because somebody else might chime in and say, "Oh yeah, well we do that too. Oh, by the way, but I don't know. It's a thought. That's all. Thank you."
I appreciate you bringing that up, because one thing I did fail to mention is that I do sometimes post my stories that I write for Delaware Online on the Facebook page. And the reason why I do that is because I write a roundup of sorts, and it's had different iterations, but the latest title is Here to Help. So Here to Help is a column that I write, and I can't tell you the frequency. I think at this point it's like every 6 weeks it gets published. But they sometimes publish it in the Sunday paper. But to your point, Polly, that there should be one place you could go if you were looking for, clothes. Where can you get clothes? Well, honestly, Delaware Social Services, they have a website. They created a database because the folks who do that job day in and day out trying to locate resources for people who are in need, they had a team, and that team had kept, a database basically on an Excel sheet, and they decided to convert it and put it on their website. And I featured it in my Here to Help column, the last one that got published. So there is actually a database, and it lists all the organizations that they're aware of in the state that offer, resources for clothing or furniture or health or even community activities. So if there is community activities, you want, people in the state in their networks, throughout Delaware, they have a website that you submit it to them, you email it to the people at Social Services, and they'll post it to the website. The only thing is not many people know about this website.
That's that's the issue.
Right. So the thing about me, the good thing about me having access to the platform that I have at Delaware Online and the News Journal is that there is that brand push. So I can continue to promote Delaware Voices Uplifted through the channels that I have access to through my employer.
Cool.
Thank you, Anitra. Sandy, I think you had your hand up next.
Yes. First of all, I've read many of your articles.
Thank
on,
you.
We actually get the print paper every day and read it. And I've really appreciated many of your articles. And we sometimes use those for ideas for people to present on this site. And I was thinking for Delaware Voices Uplifted, that would it be okay to contact people to maybe present for us on this Thursday night series? And sometimes you can figure out who to contact, but could we contact you if we read a newspaper article and don't know how to get the information to see if somebody would present for us? And also, is it okay for, if we're looking at Delaware Voices Uplifted, to also do that, to just see if they would like to present to this group? Because it's the people that are here on the Thursday night, but also other members of our congregation who visit the recordings later. And it's another possible venue for getting the word out on some of these great things. I mean, I'd love to hear more from the person who raised the money to get this house to help these people aging out of foster care. I mean, that's a huge issue and just wonderful. So, what is that okay?
Absolutely. And a lot of times that is what, folks who join and post, that is what they want. They're posting because they want the community's attention and they're looking for community support. Again, unfortunately, I am not really social media intelligent or savvy. I would have, otherwise I would have done, I tried to do a live where this is, very early on with Delaware Voices Uplifted, where I was going to do a live and interview the one of the organizers for the group that advocates to support victims of human trafficking. And I just couldn't figure it out. If anyone, after this recording wants to help me figure
Reach
out
out.
how to do a live, then we will go live on Delaware Voices Uplifted and I can do an interview there. But the reason why I was going to do that is because I wanted to give attention to people who did contribute to the Facebook group and want that attention. They want people to reach out. They want people to join the organization. They want people to show up to their group's activities. And I would love to see that happen. So if you read something, whether it is on the News Journal print, you see something in there, and you want to follow up with me, you can follow up with me on how to get in touch with the sourcing for that information. Normally, though, in if you see it in the article that is on Delaware Online or the News Journal, well, I'm not sure about the print version, but when it's on Delaware Online, if it's an organization that's involved, their contact information is included.
Oh,
I
great.
usually link them, or their phone number and email is usually included.
Oh, wonderful.
And
Thank
as
you.
far as contacting someone who put something on Delaware Voices Uplifted, one of two things could happen. You can either add a comment to their post saying, we have this series, would love to talk with you about learning more, or there's a message feature and you can send a message to the person who did the post and put the same question to them. So I think that can be done very directly without having Anitra involved. So
Wonderful. Thank you.
it's fascinating, Anitra, and it opens up all sorts of possibilities. We are always and increasingly interested in reaching out to the community and connecting. We do a lot of outreach, we do a lot of education, we do a lot of community related events. We're going to have a fall festival on Sunday that the community is welcome to attend. And I did notice Mike Ganade will be interested, that Bob Linderman just posted to Delaware Voices Uplifted about Piece of Pizza on October 25th. It is a Peace Week Delaware event sponsored by St. Stephen's Lutheran Church and Westminster. And it wasn't even hard, right, Bob? Can you tell which one is Bob? Just wondering.
It wasn't hard.
Okay. So I think this opens up wonderful possibilities for us. And I don't think that every single individual needs to be on Facebook or on Delaware Voices Unlimited. So for those of you who are not on Facebook, don't feel anxious that you're going to suddenly have to become an expert at it. But what we might do is identify maybe even a handful of people in the church or in this group who are conversant in Facebook and would love to be a focal point for adding posts to Delaware Voices Uplifted and then sharing back in the other direction. This is what we heard about. This is going on. We also are involved with a lot of partners with Family Promise and Manual Dining Room and Friendship House and a whole range of organizations. And so we'd make sure that they're aware of Delaware Voices Uplifted, as well as posting events that we co-sponsor or are jointly involved with. It's just a wonderful platform, much needed. And I think I speak for all of us. We're very grateful for the work that you've done in putting this together. And we'll see what we
Thank
can
you.
make of it. I actually was hoping we would have time tonight for you to talk about your Bracebridge article, but we tried to hold this to an hour. So perhaps we will direct everyone to Delaware Online to read the article that Anitra wrote yesterday, day before yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
about Bracebridge. And I actually think the city council is voting tonight at its
Yeah.
meeting on the project.
Yeah.
So I direct you all to Anitra's article in Delaware Online on Bracebridge to see some intriguing proposals about the use of the part of the former MBNA properties in Wilmington to see what's being proposed and might come from all of that. So before we conclude with a comment about next week, Anitra, I'd like to give you an opportunity for any closing thoughts or suggestions, or the floor is yours.
Again, thank you so much, Sue. Thank you for everyone who attended tonight. Delaware Voices Uplifted, you will have to join the group, but again, if you know someone who can post to the group, have them post, or you could just visit the group and see what's there and contact the organizations that are posting directly. The group is a meeting place online to cut out all of the noise. If you want to avoid all of the noise in the news that get you down, remember to go to Delaware Voices Uplifted for community and connection. You are the community. So
Wonderful. Thank you. I think we're familiar with the noise. So nice to get away from that. Thank you all for being here this evening. Next week, we are hosting Delaware Senator Laura Sturgeon, who is the chair of the new Public Education Funding Commission that was established by the Delaware General Assembly at the end of its last session. You may have varying degrees of awareness of just how broken Delaware's public education funding system is. The formula that's in place was created in 1940, and it hasn't really changed since then. And we do great disservice to our children and our community by not addressing it. There have been myriad attempts. This is the latest in a long line, but we will be delighted to welcome Laura Sturgeon next week. They've had their very first meeting. So they're just getting started, and I think it should be a fascinating discussion and an opportunity to ask questions, make suggestions, make your voices heard. So hope to see you next Thursday evening. Thank you again.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
Anitra.
Bye-bye.
everyone.
Thank you. Great
Bye.
job. Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you.